I am glad to welcome you on my channel.
The Carrington Club's grand facade shimmered with frost and gold light, nestled in the snowy heart of Aspen. Once, I used to walk past its velvet ropes with my head down, ignored by staff and guests alike. Now, I quietly owned 22% of the holding group behind it, but my parents had no idea. I checked my phone one last time before stepping inside. 4 missed calls from Dad, a string of messages from Mom. The last one made my jaw tighten. "Don't wear anything weird tonight, Lauren. The Halberts will be there. Remember what happened last year, please. No talk about your tech stuff." My tech stuff? I smirked, tucking the phone into my Saint Laurent clutch. Not the outlet version my mom flaunted. Mine was custom. The tech stuff in question? That would be Link Systems, the AI firm I built from a 500-square-foot Denver co-working space. We'd just signed a government defense contract worth $300 million, 0 cents. 2 months ago, I was named in Fortune's top 40 under 40, but I'd kept my name out of the spotlight, carefully buried behind shell companies and strategic silence. Not because I was ashamed, but because I wanted to build something without their judgment, their interference. And tonight, I wasn't hiding anymore. As the elevator rose to the Carrington's main ballroom, I remembered the night 4 years ago, just 24 at the time, when I tried to explain my startup to my father over Christmas dinner. "Machine learning," he had laughed. "That's not a career, Lauren. That's a phase." "You're throwing away your future," Mom had added. "Brian Halbert's firm is hiring, assistant VP. You're lucky he's even considering you." I had packed my things the next morning and left without saying goodbye. I stopped visiting home after that Christmas. Birthdays, weddings, even funerals. I sent cards, never showed up. I let them think I was scraping by, still finding myself. That's how I wanted it. Until tonight. The first 2 years were brutal. I coded through weekends, slept on an air mattress in a shared basement. Investors patted my head, said I was ambitious for a girl, but I knew what I was building. I saw a future they were too traditional to imagine. Companies were desperate for digital transformation, but the tools out there were bloated, overpriced, and built for another decade. Link Systems changed that. My platform delivered adaptive, AI-driven solutions that scaled to any business, from lean startups to legacy corporations. 6 months in, I landed my first big client, a regional hotel chain looking to modernize everything from inventory to guest experience. I delivered ahead of schedule and under budget. Word got out. Momentum snowballed. By year 2, I had 30 employees and 2 satellite offices. By year 3, we crossed $100 million, 0 cents in revenue. Now, at 28, I sat on advisory boards, fielded acquisition offers weekly, and quietly rejected pitches from the very people who once dismissed me. The elevator doors slid open to the hum of holiday music and the sparkle of Aspen's elite gathered in the Carrington ballroom. Chandeliers twinkled above a sea of tailored suits and sequin dresses. A string quartet played something festive in the corner. My eyes found them immediately. Mom, in a cherry red dress from last year's Versace collection, tried to look effortless, but had clearly spent hours perfecting every detail. Dad stood with a group of older men, gesturing wide, his voice carrying confidently, likely sharing one of his back-in-my-day business tales. "Loring." Mom's voice sliced through the noise, her smile tight. She crossed the room quickly, pearls bouncing against her collarbone. "You're late." I leaned in, kissed her cheek. "Traffic." Her eyes scanned my outfit. "Is that Chanel?" she asked, her tone almost accusing. "Custom," I said simply. She didn't hide the frown. "Never mind, just be careful tonight. Maxwell Industries is sending someone. Your father's worked for months on this deal. Please don't talk about your tech stuff if anyone asks. You're in business development." Dad arrived just in time to scowl at my bare neck. "You could have worn some jewelry. Presentation matters in real business." He lingered on the word real as always. "How's the website thing?" he asked. already looking over my shoulder. Thompson's son just made junior partner. Ask about you. Still time to pivot to a proper job? I took a glass of sparkling water from a waiter, barely suppressing a grin. Funny, I said, he pitched to Link Systems last month. We passed. Their infrastructure wasn't ready. If only he knew. James Maxwell had already signed with Link Systems last week. A $50 million 0-cents deal. I led the negotiations personally. The contract would redefine Maxwell Industries' digital architecture for the next decade. The ballroom was near capacity now, a glittering sea of Aspen's winter elite. I spotted familiar faces, VCs, board members, executives. Half of them had pitched me something at one point. Some succeeded, most didn't. None of them knew I was that Lauren Mitchell. And I liked it that way. Oh God, he's here. Mom gripped Dad's arm. Richard, Mr. Maxwell just walked in. I turned as James Maxwell entered with a small entourage. Sharp suit, confident stride, younger than most CEOs in the room, and smart. Smart enough to skip the legacy consultants and go straight to us. My parents practically sprinted across the floor, rehearsed grins in place. Mr. Maxwell, Mom sang, her voice sugary. We're honored to have you tonight. James offered a polite handshake, scanning the room absently, until his eyes met mine. Recognition hit instantly. Lauren, he called, walking right past my stunned parents. Fantastic seeing you again, Chief Executive. Heads turned. With proposal last week? Incredible. The board hasn't stopped talking about it. A sharp crack broke the silence. Dad's champagne flute shattered at his feet, golden liquid soaking into his designer shoes. Mom's smile twitched. Chief, executive, she echoed, barely audible. This was the moment I had imagined in my loneliest, most driven nights. The fantasy didn't compare to reality. James clapped a hand on my shoulder. Everyone, he said, raising his voice slightly, let me tell you, we are beyond lucky to have Link Systems leading our digital overhaul. The vision Lauren has built, billion-dollar scale, unprecedented. Conversations fizzled into silence. Every eye turned toward us. Mom looked frozen, her lipstick trembling against the weight of disbelief. Dad stared like he was trying to rewind the last 10 seconds in his mind. I took a long, unhurried sip of water. Thank you, James, I said smoothly. I'm thrilled to be partnering with you. The truth was out now, not whispered or implied, but broadcasted. And this was only the beginning. Because tonight, I wasn't just revealing who I was. I was about to show them what I'd become. The next few moments unfolded like a carefully orchestrated symphony of chaos. Dad's mouth opened and closed like a fish gasping for air. Mom's hand clutched her chest, while her other frantically reached behind her for the nearest chair, her composure cracking like the ice in her untouched champagne flute. There must be some mistake, Dad finally stammered, his voice fragile. Our Lauren, she runs a small website thing from her apartment. She's not... He looked at me. Really looked. For the first time in years. And in that moment, I watched a realization bloom slowly, painfully, across his face like a storm he couldn't outrun. Still oblivious to the family meltdown unraveling behind him, James Maxwell pressed on, smiling broadly. Small? He laughed. Link Systems is rewriting the rulebook. Lauren's AI integration platform alone will revolutionize supply chains nationwide. That demo you gave us last week? Honestly, I've never seen tech move like that. A crowd was gathering now, sensing something far more interesting than holiday canapes and polite small talk. I spotted Janet Chin, CEO of Pacific Northwest Banking. She smiled the moment she saw me. Lauren, darling, I didn't expect you here. Still won't reconsider my offer? She said with a wink before turning to my parents. You must be so proud. Your daughter's firm is Silicon Valley's obsession right now. Turning down that $2 billion 0-cents buyout offer? Legendary. Mom sank into the chair with a soft thud. $2 billion? She whispered, color draining from her face. I could practically see the memories flashing behind her eyes. Every comment dismissing my ambition, every scolding about proper careers, every moment they treated me like a reckless disappointment. Dad looked like he'd swallowed a lemon. "No one will take you seriously in business," he had said last Thanksgiving. "You're embarrassing yourself." And now the embarrassment was theirs. Michael Robertson, CEO of Western Medical Group, stepped forward. "Link overhauled our infrastructure last year," he announced proudly. "Efficiency up 300%. Best partnership we've ever made." Then came Elizabeth Warner, the tech journalist. "Remember the Children's Tech Education Fund Gala? That $10 million, 0 cents anonymous donation? It was Lauren. We can finally name our mysterious benefactor." Dad tugged at his collar like it was choking him. His eyes darted between the faces, the stories, the mounting evidence that everything he believed about me had just shattered. Want to see how Lauren finally confronts her parents and what she does next? Hit subscribe so you don't miss the twist that changes everything. All those years, Dad had lectured me about financial responsibility while I quietly built an empire under his nose. But your apartment," Mom gasped, clinging to her last thread of denial. "That tiny place." "Oh, you mean my office?" I smiled gently. "The penthouse is just where I take meetings when I'm in town. I actually own the building." I let the silence sit for a second. "And the one next to it?" I added. "Actually, most of this block." Right on cue, the Carrington manager appeared, bowing slightly. "Miss Mitchell, is everything all right? Shall we prepare the private dining suite you purchased last winter for your company's holiday gathering?" Mom's mascara began to smudge beneath the weight of her shock. "Last year," she whispered, "when you said you couldn't afford to pitch in for the family vacation." "I was a bit preoccupied," I said calmly, "acquiring our largest competitor and expanding into the European market." The memories were hitting them like waves. Dad's face twitched as he recalled every smug comment he'd made about other people's children, investment bankers, consultants, lawyers, his so-called real professionals. Mom's hand trembled, perhaps remembering every time she tried to set me up with a nice man who could take care of me. James Maxwell raised his glass high. "A toast," he announced, "to Lauren Mitchell, the youngest CEO to crack the Fortune 500 this year, a visionary who's not just shaping the future of tech, but leading it." Applause erupted, champagne glasses clinked, camera flashes burst like fireworks. Tomorrow, headlines would read, "The mystery CEO behind Link Systems steps into the spotlight." But I wasn't done. I turned back to my parents, letting the applause fade. "Remember last month? Your firm's pension fund crisis," I said, my voice steady. "That anonymous investor who stepped in just in time?" I paused, savoring the silence. "You're welcome." Dad's knees gave. A waiter caught him with a chair just in time. "All those lectures," he murmured, "and you were building something bigger than I ever imagined?" "Yes," I said simply. "And that's not even the best part." James reached into his briefcase and slid out a leather folder. "Shall we tell them about the merger?" he grinned. The room leaned in. "Because Maxwell Industries isn't just becoming our client," I said, voice crystal clear. "As of next week," I said clearly, "Maxwell Industries will officially merge with Link Systems." The murmurs grew louder. "And with them," I added, locking eyes with my father, "comes their controlling interest in Mitchell and Partners." Gasps rippled across the room. His law firm, his kingdom of 3 decades, was about to become a subsidiary of my company. "Which means," I smiled, letting the weight of it settle, "starting Monday, I'm not just your daughter. I'm your boss." The room fell into stunned silence. Somewhere in the background, a Christmas carol about peace and joy played like a punchline from the universe. I took a slow sip of water, feeling no guilt, just a quiet, settled satisfaction. Maybe now, finally, they'd be ready to talk to me like an equal. The next hour passed in a whirlwind. Executives offering congratulations, investors handing over business cards, journalists nudging closer with questions. But at our table, my parents sat unmoving, like ornate Christmas statues that had lost their glow. Around them, the party carried on. Inside them, everything they believed had unraveled. Eventually, as the crowd thinned and champagne trays disappeared, I walked back to their table. Each step across the ballroom felt symbolic. 5 short strides for 5 long years of being underestimated, dismissed, ignored. "Should we talk?" I asked softly, taking the seat beside them. Mom's once perfect makeup had become a river of black streaks. Dad's tie was half untied, his proud posture now slouched and crumbling. "Oof, why didn't you tell us?" Mom whispered. I let out a short laugh. Not bitter, just exhausted. "Tell you? Like when I tried to share news of my first contract and you cut me off to brag about Mrs. Olson's son making junior partner? Or when I explained my AI platform and Dad said I was just playing with computers while real professionals worked?" Dad finally spoke, his voice hoarse. "We were trying to protect you." "Protect me?" I leaned in, steady. "Let me tell you about protection. Remember Marcus Williams, your golf buddy? He tried a hostile takeover last year, called me little girl in the boardroom." Dad's face went pale. He knew. His company collapsed within months, lost every major contract. As for the Stevens Group, they tried stealing our encryption code. They don't exist anymore. I smiled faintly. I bought them. For pennies. Then redistributed their assets. "That was you?" Dad's voice cracked barely above a whisper. "But that was $1 billion deal." I gave a small nod, taking another sip of my water. "Actually, that was a minor acquisition, buried in last quarter's small print." I let the statement hang in the air. While you were telling everyone I was finding myself with a cute little computer hobby, I was scaling a tech empire. Every time you bragged about someone else's kid becoming junior partner or landing a promotion, I was closing deals that dwarfed their entire careers. Mom's hands were trembling now as she slowly reached for her purse, like it might shield her from what she was hearing. "The charity gala," she murmured, "the children's hospital wing we couldn't afford to sponsor, the Lauren Mitchell Technology Center." I smiled. Anonymous donations are funny that way. "But why keep it secret?" Dad demanded, the edge of his old commanding tone returning. "Why let us think?" "Think what, Dad?" I cut in gently. "That I was lost? That I needed your connections? That I had to be rescued?" I set the glass down. I wanted to win on my terms. No family name, no shortcuts, no favors, just merit. And guess what? I leaned forward slightly. I didn't just succeed, I disrupted the entire industry. The weight of it finally seemed to hit them. Every lecture, every patronizing comment, every well-meaning dismissal, they were all laid bare under the ballroom's soft chandeliers. The room around us faded, and for a moment, we were just a fractured family sitting in the middle of their reckoning. "The merger goes public Monday," I said, my tone shifting to business. "Mitchell and Partners will undergo a full digital transformation. We'll be streamlining operations, modernizing systems, you know." I smiled faintly. "All those things you once told me I'd never understand." Dad swallowed hard. "What happens to us?" "Depends," I replied, folding my hands calmly. "You have 2 choices. Option 1, early retirement, generous packages, full benefits, you can golf, travel, finally relax. Option 2, stay on, but understand, everything changes. You'll be reporting to people half your age, learning systems you don't yet grasp, adapting to a future you once dismissed." I paused. "Either way, I win. But if you're ready to respect me, not just as your daughter, but as a leader, maybe we can win together. Thank you for coming on this journey with me. If my story struck a chord, I'd love to hear from you. Drop a comment, not just for me, but for every person who's ever been underestimated, overlooked, or told to be realistic. Share your advice, your battles, your wins. Let's build each other up. And if there's one thing I hope you carry forward, it's this. Never wait for permission to become who you're meant to be. You don't need approval. You need vision, grit, and a refusal to quit. Subscribe, stay connected. The next chapter is just